Please let us know what it is in full so that people can be able to. And then a final one, if I may, if you can allow me to state this as a teacher, as much as we are using perhaps PowerPoints to be able to make our presentations, I would kindly request that let's use them. Let's see you more. Let's see you more as you explain or as you speak, even as you use the PowerPoint to be able to assist you, so that members can follow and keep being attentive. Thank you very much, and karibu. Mr. Washington.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Let me just confirm if you can hear me. Let me just confirm if you can hear me, because I'm hearing an echo on this side. Can you hear me? Hello? Hello? Can you hear us? Can you hear us?
So, for the teacher to verbalize your sign language, and please, the floor is yours.
Just wondering if we are together. It's a Washington or PFC. It's a Washington or PFC. Administrative justice. On administrative justice. Our office is here or based is in Nairobi. Our office is in Nairobi. Our office is in. We have an office in Kisumu. We have another office in Kisumu. We have another. And also in. So in this presentation, we're going to have a discussion with you. And governance in promotion governance. And promote and that will be my presentation. The honor to have this conversation. All of you. As the rights ombudsman, its origin, and the aim of this was and the issue of justice around between the citizenry and that time to speak truth, so that those people are able to have the needs to be responsible. Sweden as a country set up the ombudsman. That concept has spread worldwide. And here in Kenya, we also began the need to set up the Office of the Ombudsman. And the idea was born in the year 1971 when the Commission of Inquiry into the Public Service Structure and Remuneration, known as the Legal Commission. When we realized the need to look at matters around abuse of office, matters around delays and responsiveness, that led to the formation of the Ombudsman, or the Commission on Administrative Justice here in Kenya. The The other feel we need to raise awareness around this is because most citizens, like I said, they don't know about the different information around science, technology, and innovation. So one way to ensure good governance in public sector is by raising awareness so that members of the public know that this information is there. Ombudsman has mandate around issues of performance contracting framework, evaluating also the resolution of public complaints. This is an area that we can always work together to know how well our players and actors in the ST and I are able to handle public complaints. We are able to provide oversight, and all of them report to us through performance contracting framework. Finally, we also have a mandate to issue advisory opinions and proposals on matters touching on ST and I programs, policies, or practices, where we feel that within the commission we can give matters to, of course, enhance good governance that we can always give to any public sector. Issues, of course, like I said, of digitization as well. So those are the areas that I believe we as Ombudsman can always engage with the different institutions to make this successful. So that is a summary of my presentation. Thank you very much.
I'll encourage all our speakers to keep time. Representing Professor Sachin Chaturvedi from India is Dr. Satu. Actually, Dr. Saha, to be correct. Dr. Sabyasachi Saha, the floor is yours. Please proceed with the...
Yeah, can you hear me?
Too loud and clear.
Thank you so much.
Proceed.
Thank you. So thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, moderator. I am very glad to participate in this session on behalf of Professor Sachin Chaturvedi, Director General of the Research and Information System for Developing Countries, which is a think tank based in New Delhi. We are very glad to be part of this very important conference, KIPPRA Annual Review 2021, and which is has been designed on a very important theme of mainstreaming science, technology, innovation solutions for sustainable development and other priorities. So with your permission, may I make the formal presentation on behalf of Professor Sachin Chaturvedi. Please allow me to share my screen. Can I share my screen now?
And share your screen.
Yes.
Kindly, you can share your screen.
Yes.
Proceed.
Yes, but you need you need to allow.
Okay, so what we are going to do, since you can't share from your end, we can project the screen. We have the presentation right here.
Okay.
It is coming on board right now.
Okay.
Is that the right presentation?
Yes, this is the right presentation. Yes, this is the right presentation. So,
Please.
thank you so much once again. Thank you so much once again. There is an echo in the voice. There is an echo in the voice. Can you correct that, please? So let me go ahead. I think it is now better. So let me first explain the STI policy contour would be in terms of the inclusive and sustainable development parameters. Of course, we are aware that science, technology, innovation is key to fostering rapid industrial growth and development, which is very much of a necessity in the South and the developing countries. We are aware of the priorities of the developing countries at this point, particularly in the least developed regions, in Africa, in other areas. But unfortunately, the COVID-19 pandemic has posed severe challenges for the attainment of the Sustainable Development Goals and the connect with economic growth and inclusiveness that it aspires for. However, if we look at a lot has been discussed since the earlier session and also in this session as well. Several technological opportunities have been discussed by very eminent speakers, but from a perspective of confidence in formulating STI for national development and sustainable development, we can think of STI priorities at three levels. First of all, leveraging STI for consolidating value chains in the global South. We need to mainstream science, technology, innovation for sustainable development, and also improving access to technologies for global public goods. Next slide, please. It is extremely encouraging to look at Kenya's evolving policy framework. Kenya's National Vision 2030 articulates the national development agenda for the country and calls for transitioning to knowledge-based economy 2030, which is also the timelines that have been set for the Sustainable Development Goals. Since we are discussing the Big Four agenda today, as announced by President Kenyatta, which seeks to support value addition and raise the share of manufacturing sector to 15% of GDP by 2022. Initiatives that guarantee food security and nutrition to all Kenyans by 2022, provide universal health coverage and guaranteeing quality and affordable health care to all Kenyans, and providing housing to all Kenyans by targeting construction at 100,000 houses, affordable houses by 2022. We see that this is evolving timelines, and there are several lessons that we get from India in terms of government's priorities and the national programs that have been launched in the last couple of years and have been very successfully implemented. We are aware of the JAM Trinity, the Jandhan Mobile Trinity, where financial inclusion was prioritized through the unique identity that was generated, and the banking was possible through the mobile telephony. And this has been the case of Kenya as well, which has achieved technology-led financial inclusion and has been very successful in doing that. We are implementing very large-scale Digital India program, which encapsulates both the hardware infrastructure in terms of the broadband connectivity that is required for every village, as well as the software platforms integrating various digital public goods, if we may say so, in facilitating transactions and facilitating ease of living in India. So Digital India has contributed immensely. So we see Digital India as a successful initiative being implemented in India, which has a lot of lessons for the Global South as we talk of the digital public goods. We are doing very successfully the Startup India program. We see the entrepreneurship is the way forward. We need to move from entitlements to entrepreneurship-based approach and create livelihoods for the masses, as well as bring in confidence in technology-led applications. So startups, entrepreneurship has been the key focus. And despite the pandemic, recent reports suggest that India has been thriving in this sector. So Startup India is very much an important program. Then we have India's commitment at the Paris Climate Accord and its ambitious agenda of transitioning to renewable energy. And that has been a priority area. It is about providing clean energy to the households. It is about providing affordable energy, and it is also about creating the infrastructure that is needed for the renewable energy going up in the coming years. Ayushman Bharat is the countrywide national health insurance scheme, and where we see that it has a lot of convergence with the idea of the Big Four agenda that Kenya has adopted. So, health for all has to become a reality, and India, we have moved ahead with this program with much success. So, this is something that is important, and we know the challenges with respect to access to healthcare and how STI has a lot of solutions embedded in it when it comes to the healthcare sectors. We are also particularly proud of programs like the smart cities, which have been very successful in city solutions, digital planning, monitoring systems for civic amenities, and this has a lot of lessons even for other countries. Next slide, please. One crucial area which this particular session is addressing is about STI policies, and there is a lot of ideas that would emerge from the STI governance framework, because going ahead, the technology space is getting more and more complex. It is not only about the innovators, it is not only about the producers or the users, but you need the right kind of STI governance to inform policy making, to inform the consumers and to protect their interests, as well as protect the rights of the innovators. So it's a complex dimension that we are looking at. But there can be several parameters of looking at STI governance. First of all, effective multidimensional legislative frameworks need to be in place, which can go a long way in mainstreaming inclusion. It can improve the overall STI governance via promoting access, equity, and inclusion. Regulatory architecture for the new and emerging technologies like artificial intelligence, blockchain, cloud computing, and data analytics for inclusion, as well as promoting ethical use, is very much required. It's important for catching up economies that multidimensionality and the regulatory architecture is a key imperative. And regulatory architecture needs to cater to conservation as well as value addition priorities. I'll come to it in the next slide where I try to explain this process. Next slide, please. So we need to avoid one-sided approach when we are talking about STI governance and the regulatory architecture. We have India's experience with the national.
Dr. Saha?
Yes, there is. Yes,
if you're getting me, it is request in the interest of time to slightly, make it a little bit faster and briefer. Hopefully in the next 2 minutes, if we may wrap it up, it will be beneficial.
Sure. I'll try my best to cover the important points. So we have this experience with the National Biodiversity Act of 2022 and our experience of how do we balance the perspectives on having access and benefit sharing mechanisms, perspectives on value addition for the primary product, as well as giving focus on conservation of the biodiversity that is very much required. So this is a case in point where biodiversity conservation is a priority. At the same time, you need to ensure that the biodiversity-based value addition that is connected to the livelihoods of people are also taken care of. Next slide, please. So a lot has been said about Academia Industry Connect. We need locally embedded national innovation system. We need regional innovation systems that have connects with the traditional knowledge systems. We need enhanced public funding and putting in place of ecosystem for prototype development, venture capital. There has to be focus on technology adaptation and commercialization of low-cost, affordable technologies, particularly in developing countries. Now, creating links between universities, research labs, and MSME clusters for knowledge sharing, technology transfer, testing, certification, quality improvements, etc. We also have talked about technology business incubators and the bridging mechanisms that are required for startups and technology transfer offices. Next slide, please. So the global dimension of science, technology, innovation, the political economy of it is also very important. So we need to have emphasis on access to technologies. So we need to overcome the barriers to technology transfer. We need to close the resources and the skill gaps that are very adversely affecting the developing countries. We need to operationalize what is called the technology facilitation mechanisms at the UN for the fulfillment of the SDGs, which is in a pilot stage at this point. And both India and Kenya are part of this global pilot program, and there is a lot of scope to collaborate on this, where we overcome some of the technology barriers and mainstream STI solutions for sustainable development. Next slide, please. One important dimension is about access to resources. So access resources are critical for modern, digital, and resilient infrastructure. Financial resources are important for climate change mitigation strategies, access to technologies, and green finance in an important area where developing countries should be part of the global discussions, so that access to resources is more equitable and more targeted, where developing countries can come up with their own strategies of climate change mitigation and also have this access to technologies in the same place. We need to strengthen the ideas of South-South cooperation to help each other. We need to formulate the development compact approach, where we take an integrated view of development, where technical cooperation and knowledge sharing features within the larger canvas of the economic exchanges that we are trying to establish. We may recall the Buenos Aires Plan of Action and the 40th year of its celebration, which came out with a declaration calling for not only South-South cooperation, but robust triangular cooperations to bridge knowledge. Next slide, please. Initiatives one of the long four key discussions on technology takes place, where we should be able to influence the discussions of the global technology regimes from the point of view of access to finance as well as access to technologies. And as we know that the frontiers of technologies are moving very fast, and there is a lot of inequities that are getting created in the process, but countries should come forward, developing countries should come together on some of these issues. So India and Kenya is already part of the global pilot on STI for SDGs roadmaps being incubated at the UN as part of the technology facilitation mechanisms. We are aware of the International Solar Alliance, and Kenya's support for this alliance and being part of it would greatly enhance its prospects of leveraging on the renewable energy sector. We are aware of the TRIPS waiver, which is being discussed at the WTO for access to vaccines, and countries Kenya should support this and take this forward. It was floated by India and South Africa, and there is a lot of international support at this point. So Kenya, we look forward to Kenya also to be part of this, because it serves the long-term interests of promoting healthcare in the South with indigenous technological capabilities. So we need to also capitalize and strengthen cooperation to develop healthcare-related indigenous capacities across Global South and improve access to healthcare facilities. So in pandemic times, which has become all the more important to help us exit from the pandemic in a more meaningful way with our own solutions and technologies. So thank you for your kind attention, and I look forward to learning from the distinguished panel going forward. Thank you so much.
those who are present physically will come here, questions put out, which will be responded to. Karibu sana Bwana Muteti.
Much. The chair and board of KIPPRA, the CEO, invited guests both in presence and virtually. My name is Richard Muteti. KNFKJA means Kenya National Federation of Jua Kali Associations. If they upload my presentation, I'll go with it right away. Okay, thank you very much. As I said earlier, my name is Richard Muteti. I'm the CEO of the National Federation of Jua Kali Association. My presentation takes the format of introduction so that I familiarize with you what the Jua Kali sector is and what it means, what they are doing, and how then we link them with the modern technologies for wealth creation. The Federation of Jua Kali Association was established in 1992 with the help of the government, and it is the umbrella voice, advocacy voice for the skilled artisans in the Jua Kali sector in Kenya. The sector has absorbed a lot of people. It's part of the MSC sector that employs more than 86% of the population. It has absorbed the majority of retrenchees, retirees, school dropouts, and the unfortunate dismissals. Therefore, you'll find that when you talk about usage and linking modern technology, if we can move on, I'm trying to rush the person moving with it. I seem to be ahead of it. Yeah, we have already passed there. The sector has employed people who are so skilled, and in the advent of COVID, we have absorbed a lot of specialized technologists at the sector. So we are in that full value chain. But I want to concentrate on the bottom of the pyramid, which is the sector. It consists of artisans, producers, or manufacturers, if you like, and as part of the larger subsector activities like the woodwork, woodcrafts, metal, soapstone, ceramics, and so on. Majority of you know some of the clusters, like in just around here in Dagoretti, Ngong Road, where we have a big cluster of furniture. We have the Kamukunji, where they do metal fabricators, and so on. So, if you can move on. As a build-up case, some of the characteristics are already there. I don't want to go through all of them, but I can just mention two. These are small-scale operations, small independent entrepreneurs. They are flexible and often produce in small production units. There is a lot of ease of entry and exit. Skills are acquired out of the formal sector, and they are very flexible. We can move on. Where are we? That is the definition of the current Kenyan on-build definition of the various subsectors in the MSC sector, majority of whom are in the informal economic sector. The federation specifically deals with the skilled artisans. I leave these descriptions to the MSC authority. I see the representation here. They can talk about that. The next slide is about the various products that come from the Jua Kali sector using localized technologies. I can ascertain and believe that most of you have interacted in one way or another with the products from the Jua Kali sector. Most of the people in my age group bracket and older ones, I'm sure you went to your secondary schools with the metal boxes that you bought from Kamukunji. That is my age group. So these are some of the products that come from our areas. If you can go ahead, move on. And this is where now I want to start linking modern technology and innovation to the Juakali sector. This is the specific challenges or status of the way the sector produces their products. Number one, majority of them lack standards, specifications, and this is where again we see why it is important to link modern technologies and innovation. Most of the products are produced using poor production methods. Most of them have poor finish due to lack of finishing equipment. Most of them have reduced lifespan due to use of low and quality materials usage in an attempt to reduce production costs. And most of them are of substandard products due to poor workmanship as a result of unskilled workers and lack of modern tools and technologies. And I'm talking about the base and the bottom of the pyramid and their usage of technologies. Let's move on. Now, the advantages of linking modern technologies and innovation to the Juakali sector is that with the challenges that I've just described, usage of these modern technologies has several benefits, including increase in productivity and competitiveness. If you look at the slide, when we use these modern technologies, we'll address quantities of goods, mass production. As you know, we are currently producing the school desks. So if we don't use the modern technologies, we will not be able to service the orders. We are talking about quality of the goods, use of standards in quality of raw materials and skills. We are talking about productivity, standardization of parts and components, and we are talking about branding. Most of the Juakali sector products, if you buy them from Kamukunji, if you buy a metal hammer from Kamukunji and look at it after a week, you won't even know where it came from. You won't know who made it. And that is now that absence of these issues of technologies and innovations. Let's move on. That is a pictorial, that is a picture of the current state of how the Juakali sector people use their own technologies to produce their product. That is a welding machine. And the welding machine on the left, that picture, I took it in Kibuye. That picture, the thing you're seeing there, looking like a bomb, is a welding machine that welds windows, doors, and if you see at the other end, it is also charging a battery, it is also charging a telephone. That is innovation. I'm reminded that the Juakali sector is the mother of innovations. It was there even during the Bible. They're the ones who made the Noah's Ark. And I'm told that Jesus' father was a carpenter. So these artisans, when we try now to link them with the modern technologies, the other picture on the right is now as a result of the collaboration with the research and technology institutions that has assisted the Juakali sector move from what you are seeing on the left that looks like a bomb into the one that you are seeing on the right that looks like an imported one. Let's move on. That other slide is the current state of how the bottom of the pyramid use their hands to produce their products. That gentleman is trying to straighten that metal piece. If you look at the background, the metal are already flat. They did not use any machinery. They have used their hands. There's a lot of accidents in this sector, and most of your brothers and sisters that employ more than 86% of the total workforce in this country, this is how they operate. This is how they do it. We are so excited to be here with you today to see how we can collaborate with the research institutions and the good words I'm hearing about robotics and some things I cannot remember, to see how it can link to this man and see how then he can change the way he produces that product. Let's move on. The other pictorial is how most of the cooking pans, the chapati pans are folded using very outdated technologies at Kamukunji. That is a visitation by a minister of SMEs who wanted to come and learn how the Juakali sector operates in this country. Let's move on. So then, how then do we link the Juakali sector to modern technologies and innovations? Number one, by scaling up the sector. We need to enhance Juakali artisan skills, both technical and managerial, through various initiatives. I'm seeing Nita here. I want to thank Nita very much. They are one of the biggest partners of the Juakali sector, and they're changing the lives of the sector. Most of the people operate the way you've seen because of lack of collaboration. we don't have serious collaborative frameworks in this sector to impact what we are hearing today to the common person who produces these things on the side. So there's that need, and also linkage to technical and vocational institutions by provision of funding and affordable credit. We have just heard that without appropriate funding, these people cannot access the appropriate machinery to modify how they do their things. Let's move on. By creation and provision of modern work sites, most of you have seen how the Jokali artisans operate. Majority of them operate on trenches and on roadsides. You cannot put a 3D machine on a roadside. You can, where if you leave it, you don't know if you'll find it the following day. I'm happy that Musa is also here, the Micro and Small Enterprises Authority. We thank you so much, industrial centers. So we need modern work sites. We also need these people to be provided with modern machinery and equipment. You cannot complain about the products of these people. Okay, assurance, facilitation of technology transfer through backward and forward linkages. We would like to link with the modern technologies that we are seeing presented here today. And my last slide is a summary of what we need then to create even more jobs and create wealth to this country. Thank you very much.
Because I'm expecting my guests to come here. May I invite, first of all, let's a round of applause for that. Very good presentation. My colleague here, Dr. Dina, was telling me that if I go along Jogo Road, I'm going to throw away my bed, I'll throw away my seats and my furniture because of the great work that is being done by the artisans on Jogo Road, and no doubt Landis Road, Kamukunji, as we've seen from the slides, and all over the country. We have a Juakali sector everywhere who do a great job, and Bwana Muteti here has been able to identify some of the challenges that they face, which would make them world-class if only they had the support that he has listed there. So right now, I'd like to invite my panelists who are present physically. That is Dr. Njogu from KIPPRA and Engineer Edward Karani from the Micro and Small Enterprises Authority. We have online who are joining us, Professor Stephen Ogenga, Director General of NITA. Panelists are there, karibu sana. Then also Madam Regina Nkonge from iLab. Could I be advised whether they are there?
So for our online panelist, that is Professor Ogenga and Regina Nkonge. Again, heavy tongue right there. We're trying to admit them, but as you know, yes, definitely. So I'd request if they can hear us, Professor Stephen Ogenga and Regina, kindly just raise your hand so that we are able to admit you onto this panel discussion. Kindly raise your hand so that we are able to admit you on this panel discussion and join the rest of the team to discuss matters what makes a good ST&I policy objective. Have they come on board? Not yet. So shall we be able to proceed with the physical panelists who are present before we admit our virtual panelists later on? If that is in order, you can advise the technical lead. We can proceed. All right. So thank you very much, Madam Chair. I'll hand it over to you. Then we will advise once we have our online panelists joining us, but you can start with the physical panelists. Over to you.
Hi everyone. Hi everyone.
Thank you very much. And I hope that we're still communicating with our members who are online. I hope that these microphones are carrying sound into your systems. Bona MC, could you kindly confirm? I'd like to welcome our panelists, Dr. Njogu from KIPPRA, and then we have Engineer Karani from EMEA. So then we also have our panelists who are online. The way we're going to do this is I'm just going to read out a series of questions which our panelists are already aware of. And then panelists will be able to respond to these questions when they give them the opportunity. I'll give them the opportunity once because of time, so that you're able to pick out that what you want to and be able to, be able to just tell members what your perspectives are. So the questions that we're asking here, I'm saying this for the benefit of those with us physically and online, are: what makes a good ST&I policy objective? What specific interventions are needed to address current policy gaps in promoting, coordinating, and mobilizing resources in the STI ecosystem? From the presentations we've had, in this panel, we have heard of gaps in different areas. We also had Professor Saha from India, who painted a picture where the country really supports the ST&I sector. So we'll be interested to hear from you what's required. Then STI mainstreaming still faces quite a number of challenges. What needs to be done to ensure that STI is mainstreamed in all sectors of the economy? What needs to be done to ensure adequate promotion of local STI innovations and inventions? What do we need to do to have appropriate and powerful structures to execute ST&I? How can Kenya transform the institutional landscape towards identifying key gaps, opportunities, and challenges in current STI investment approaches? What are the policy opportunities for increasing investments in research and development? And what needs to be done to address the issue of funding of research, leading to non-alignment of the research agenda? This morning we heard from Dr. Mwangi, the representative of the Minister for Trade, the CS for Trade, talking about a research fund that has been established in other countries and also that was established here but is not well funded. We just want to be able to hear about that. Now, our panelists here, as well as those online, are we together with those online, Bwana MC?
Madam Chair, I can confirm that we have a representative of Professor Ogenga from NITA. His name is Karoli. He'll be able to properly introduce himself. And we also have a gentleman from Swahili Hub joining the panel. Robert Mrima is also joining us virtually. Over to you.
Okay, I welcome those two members who've joined us on the panel online. I'll begin with our panelists here who followed, I believe, from the time I began introducing this panel, to be able to take 3 minutes, introduce yourself, and then we'll be able to give us your views generally on these questions that have been asked. Karibu.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To introduce myself, I'm Karani Edward, Director in charge of Infrastructure Development, Technology and Innovation at Micro and Small Enterprise Authority, which is a government agency based at the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Enterprise Development. And the core mandate is to promote, develop, regulate micro enterprises. I would want to handle these issues from a threefold perspective, putting into consideration the presentation you've listened to today, which were very insightful. and also putting into consideration the current state of affairs within this country. And lastly, looking at which is the best approach to address these issues. I want to first acknowledge the policy direction taken by the government so far with the establishment of different agencies, that is National Research Fund, NACOSTI, and even Kenya, the Innovation Agency. More to that, there is also the KILDI, Kenya Industrial Research and Development Institute, and there are quite a number of other agencies doing research and also trying to support standardization. Now, having that policy and with agencies mandated to do different aspects within the STI ecosystem, what are we doing right and what are we not doing right? I think what we are doing right is first, the actual, once the policy, in terms of the agencies and the mandates they get from their different acts of parliament, or how they are, depending on how they're established, the actual implementation is in silos. So we are not talking to each other, I would say, as government agencies. So KILDI comes up with a good research, probably a product. A university comes up with good documentation on how to, let's say, add value in a certain sector. How does that translate into actual implementation? Now, it is not very clear on how we should provide a linkage. The beauty is, when KIPPRA was assisting us to do an MSc framework for this country, those were one of the gaps that were identified. And for sure, we need to take a proactive step towards doing that. So, on the second fold of what can we do differently from where we are to be able to achieve that? Mr. Moteti has acknowledged that some of the things that probably were presented in terms of information technology, artificial intelligence, robotics, as a country, we might not be there in terms of what is applicable to the industry, to the micro and small enterprises. The MSME sector is broad. As he rightly said, 86% of employment is largely in the informal sector. And for sure, they're using rudimentary methods of production. So what do we do? What can we do differently? First is provide a landscape where we're providing technology transfer there is communication between the private sector, the large corporations, the public sector, that is research institutions from universities and all other research institutions, the sector. And this is through continuous activities. Some of the activities, if let's say we want to do reverse engineering of a certain, of this derivation, then let's have all the sector players. Let's have the private sector doing it. Let's have the public sector being involved in it. And then let's have the MSCs who are also in that space. So that the lessons and learnings that we pick from there are across board. Lastly, Mr. Moteti mentioned about technology transfer and provision of modern work sites. For sure, when we look at what we are consuming as a country, let's just get into a standard household. The furniture that you're having, there's a high possibility it is produced in the MSc ecosystem. How many research institutions or universities are putting a thought about the ergonomics or the comfort of what you're sitting on so that it can be transcended to the MSc sector when they produce a seat you're comfortable enough? Look at probably the bed that you use at home. There is a very high chance that it is produced in the MSc sector. But how much research is being transcended from research institution to the actual people who are producing it? So as a way forward, I would encourage that this collaboration, this linkage, as the presenter from India mentioned, that one of the things that we need to look at is STI as a public good? What kind of information is being held? Someone probably thinks it is a patentable thing, but it's something that could be ultimately transferred to the society and applicable in the MSE sector and ultimately benefit the society. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Engineer Njeru, for those very important insights that you've given us from your perspective at MCEL. I'm hoping that members who've joined us for this conference will also be sending direct questions, specific questions. For example, Bwana Mutete, I hope that you have informed your constituency about this conference and that they are following, and that if they have follow-up questions to ask, that they'll be able to channel them to those who are actually providing responses here. Karibu, Dr. Njogu from KIPPRA.
Okay, thank you very much, Chairperson. My name is Humphrey Njogu from KIPPRA, senior researcher at KIPPRA. And I think KIPPRA, being a host of this event, at least we know what KIPPRA will do. But basically what we do is to support public policy making process. And the theme of this conference is actually very relevant to what KIPPRA does. Now, I just want to pinpoint a few areas related to the presentations that have been made, and again, also generally to this space of legal policy and regulatory frameworks. Well, one thing that we need to note is that we have very strategic documents that are very clear in terms of where we need to, or the direction that the country needs to go. For instance, Vision 2030 document. I'm sorry to say so because we're almost very close to 2030. We're talking of less than 9 years to that time. Now, in that document, if you look at it clearly, you find that the drafters of that document, they envisioned Kenya to have done much in terms of science, technology, and innovation. But the reality is that not much has been accomplished. I don't maybe to pinpoint the reasons why we have not been able to do quite a lot, but I think there's so much to do with financing, our culture of embracing, science, technology, and innovation. And again, also as a country, we are coming, we are from, we import more, and we don't manufacture a lot from this country. Now, having known the direction that we need to take, the sector that we are in, science, technology, and innovation sector, we don't have an approved science, technology, and innovation policy. So efforts have gone ahead to this space of developing the policy. Various actors, they met. Sometimes I think in 2013, a draft was put forward, and again we had a delay of approving the document, and I think there was also some effort. I think sometimes in the 2018 to kickstart or to revive the efforts of developing this SDNI policy. So as you're speaking, we don't have any approved science, technology, and innovation. And I think this is actually now putting us at a disadvantage to no point. One, you see, when you don't have a policy, an approved policy, it means that you don't have a clear vision of where you want to go. Or you don't have, we are not able to coordinate elements of research in this space. So for me, I find this to be an area that we need to prioritize. And I hope maybe by the time where we are finishing maybe this conference, this is one of the resolutions that we need to put forward so that we can see how we can be able to fast track the approval of this important document. Again, if you also look at this space of science, technology, and innovation, we have so many sectors. I don't know. I don't know who we can actually leave out. Look at science domain itself alone. We have universities doing teaching, and we have so many scientists. Today we are struggling with COVID-19. We've seen the advanced countries. For them, they have been able to put their teams to do something about developing the vaccine. We still, yes, as a country, let's also acknowledge that we have done something, but I think we could do more if we embrace the science, technology, innovation. So I think yesterday, we saw the president saying that I think a local university has been, some local institutions have been picked to support this process of coming up with a vaccine. Doing the production of the vaccine. You see, and I think this is maybe an area that I think there's so much that I think we are not able to take advantage of. So many opportunities, and I think again also, Chairperson, I think I'm almost done. Is that all is not lost. We have, as a country, we are very gifted. We are very young people who are very vibrant in terms of coming up with innovations. And in fact, Kenya has been rated, I think should be top 5 in Africa in terms of main areas of technology. And in fact, if we were to single some areas like internet economy, Kenya is leading in Africa. And the report actually is also suggesting that in the next maybe 10, 30 years to come, Kenya is set to actually to leap a lot from this. Even innovation space, again, I think that we do have, I think, 50 plus, more than 50 active tech hubs. And you're talking of huge innovation hubs where Silicon Valley, California, they're coming to show their ideas, their innovations. So I think for me, this is an area that we need to take it aggressively, see what you can be able to change. And I think, yes, I think it's so that we are able to achieve the dream that we have put in the vision of future.
Thank you, Dr. Njogu from KIPPRA. Something that I could just add to what Dr. Njogu has said is that KIPPRA has a repository that is online and that captures many of the documents that contain policy statements in our country. And I'm certain that the policy, all relevant policy documents that are relevant to ST and I will also be captured in that repository. You can get a lot of good information, historical, current from the KIPPRA repository, which is online. Now I'd like to welcome the representative of Professor Stephen Ogenga, the Director General of NITA, to be able to share your remarks with us.
Thank you very much.
And then we'll give
Thank you very much, Chair, for the opportunity. First of all, I'd wish to state my names. I'm Karoli Otieno from the National Industrial Training Authority, representing the Director General, NITA. I wish to tender the apologies of my Director General, Engineer Stephen Ogenga, who is really passionate about today's agenda, but was unable to make it for this plenary. I believe he shall probably be plugging in a little later. Secondly, I express the appreciation on behalf of NITA for giving us an opportunity to participate in this fourth KIPPRA conference. In particular, the sub-theme touching on policy, institutional, and legal framework, and more specifically, the discussant topic on education system in science, technology, and innovation. Really, first of all, maybe given the short time, I'll just give a brief about NITA, just to position the place of NITA in the skilling ecosystem. NITA is a state corporation domiciled within Ministry of Labor, and with our vision is to provide quality industrial training for enhanced productivity. We advance this vision as provided for in our mandate to regulate industrial training. And NITA in itself, the board is a tripartite in nature, and it comprises social partners that represent both employers, employees, the government, and other special interests. So coming to the topic of the day on education system in science, technology, and innovation, NITA in particularly has an arm of the board called the sector training committees, which perform a critical role to ensure that there is constant linkage with the industry's economic sectors. The linkages inform the existing skills gaps and course content delivered at the industrial training centers that NITA has, as well as the economy at large. In turn, the skills gaps identified by the sector training committees are met through training, skills that are transferred to the persons in the industry to meet the demands of the industry. Looking at the policy structures and the existing legal frameworks, the Constitution of Kenya 2010 already provides as an overarching legislation, a framework that gives recognition to science and technology. If we look at Article 11 of the Constitution on culture, there's emphasis on commitment by the state to recognize the role of science and indigenous technologies in the development of the nation. It emphasizes on promotion of the intellectual property rights of Kenya. So looking at the foundation of science, technology, and innovation within the social pillars of the Vision 2030, where it is anchored, the vision further purposes intensified application of AI to raise productivity and efficiency levels across all the pillars. Now, within the Ministry of Labor, where NITA is domiciled, we're looking at the labor market information through the Kenya Labor Market Information System that provides a mechanism where information about the labor market demand are collected and analyzed, and they inform the effective labor market practices that can be developed for the sector. So to say, this provides for an opportunity for organizations like NITA and other players, other stakeholders such as TVET, Commission for University Education, as well as industry in the skilling ecosystem, to provide mechanisms and the development of ST&I specific programs that can develop ways for enabling the youth to adapt to a fast evolving labor market. If we look at maybe the competencies or the areas for which the skills are utilized and certified, NITA in itself provides the opportunity for the government trade test, as was alluded to earlier by the representative chairman for the Juakali sector. We're really collaborating to be able to provide, certification of the skills that are possessed by the members of the informal sector through other policy, interventions, include recognition of prior learning. So if we look at now what the issues that we have been able to look at in terms of the demand for ST&I is high. There's a real high demand in ST&I in the economy, especially in the structure that we are in right now. Technology deepening has to be supported by aggressive government interventions that include targeted, public procurement, creation of specific public ST&I institutes, and preferred arrangements to steer firms to targeted technology sectors, so to say. So what are the issues? we realize that the supply of the much needed human resource for the knowledge-based economy has become very acute. And with the unemployment rate, especially for the formal sector, there is need to look at technologically qualified persons to support the ecosystem in terms of human resource and even research skills that is still low. You realize that NITA is playing an integral part.
Bona Karoli?
Yes. Hello? Yes.
I'm kindly requesting whether you could, in 1 minute, kindly sum up what your message is in relation to ST&I because of the pressure of time, so that we can then bring in our other speaker. Kindly.
Thank you very much, Chair, for the. I think the message from NITA is that we are rapidly taking part in the current interventions, especially recognition for prior learning, that will support the informal sector in order to be able to support the economy through science, technology, and innovation. Given the intervention and the big role that the informal sector is playing, about 80% of the businesses that are held. NITA is supporting this, and we believe that through such interventions, we may be able to, achieve the standards that we require in terms of economic development and progression of the nation, so as it were. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Karoli from NITA. Can we please clap for him? We didn't clap for our members here at the front. We'll clap for them when we are through. Yeah, I'd like to bring in our last speaker, last but not least, the representative of Madam Konge from iLab. Kindly, could you introduce yourself and go straight to your message so that we can be able to, in 3 minutes, at the very maximum, be able to wind up this session. Kindly go straight to your interventions on ST.
Hi, everyone. Hello, can you hear me? Yes, just to confirm.
Get you loud and clear, please proceed.
Yes, there's a slight correction. I'm Robert, Research Director at Swahili Port Hub, not as earlier mentioned by the chair. And I'm here to represent Swahili Port Hub, which is based in Mombasa. Yeah, so Swahili Port Hub is a technology and art space based in Mombasa, which has a core mandate of nurturing the youth's talents and innovation skills. So what you can say is that since its founding in 2016, Swahili Port Hub has been able to accomplish a lot of strides in ensuring that we are nurturing a lot of young, innovative entrepreneurs here in Mombasa. And the main reason as to why Swahili Port Hub merged these two facets of technology and art was in the ecosystem that we were here in Mombasa, whereby we were seeing a lot of youths were in violent extremism, and these are the youths that still have the potential. So our hub was able now to be able to accommodate majority of the youths here in Mombasa and even beyond the coast region to see how we can excite their innovation and technological skills, and also merge with the creative and art skills to ensure that they reach to the maximum or they achieve the maximum potential in life. Those who maybe could not proceed to the next level of education. So I'm very much thankful for being here. KIPPRA giving us this opportunity to also talk about what we do. Just also to mention on the issues of STI, I'll go back to how it was founded on the second medium-term plan, that is for Vision 2030. That is one of the pluses that we can commend to our founding of instituting science, technology, and innovation in social, economic, and political affairs for this country. And since then, we have seen some progressive impact that have been made. And currently, also to mention on the challenges that we still are faced, and we pose them as opportunities as well to see how we can address them, is one of our main areas that we really wanted to point out is the inadequate science and technology and innovation data to quantify contribution to the national economy. There's a lot that is happening outside there, and lack of data has really pull us back, so that we cannot be able to quantify the measures or the next steps or the plans on how the government can proceed. So that's one of the areas that we really need to look at. And the other areas, of course, is the alignment of our education systems and training. And I can say we are standing at a very good opportunity of the CBC. You can call it a test to see how now we can be able to change the narratives for students as early stages, so that now we can excite the innovation and technological skills moving forward the education. So these are the two areas that the ST and I still have such challenges, but we see these as opportunities to be able to tap into them. And just also to give you a brief history on the incubation ecosystem in Kenya. 20 years ago, there was only like one accelerator or incubation hubs. But right now, Kenya has over 70 incubation and accelerator hubs. This shows that there is hunger, and there's hunger for growth for the youths. And most of these startups are being driven by youths. I can give examples here at Swahili Port Hub. We have startups that are changing the manufacturing industry through circular economy. We also have startups that are venturing into robotics and training young kids on robotics from early tender age of 7 years up to 17 years. So there are very many opportunities, and the youths have come out strongly, and we have database. Before Corona, actually, Swahili Port Hub was administering almost 150 to 200 youths coming to this place. But right now, because of COVID, we can't quite admit most of them. So we only can admit up to 10 to 20 innovators. So this still, Corona as well as really impacted on us, but we still are relentless to see how we can be able to tap into the innovation ecosystem here in Kenya. And KIPPRA as well is doing a tremendous job ensuring that there's research and policy. Sorry, I can hear myself. Yes.
In 30 seconds, please wind up. I was trying my best not to stop you because you're giving us, new information about, the area of youth. But kindly, in 30 seconds, could you kindly wind up your presentation?
Yes. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. So what I can say is there's opportunity. That was my parting shot. There's a huge opportunity for science, technology, and innovation here in Kenya and at large. And not forget to mention that it's very important for all these stakeholder and institutions to come together. That is TVET, institutions of the academia, and also startups or incubations to come together to see how they can innovate and improve the science, technology, and innovations ecosystem here in Kenya. Thank you.
the first session and going forwards.
Okay.
How can people engage so that they can get satisfactory answers? If you're a person out there with an innovation and you're wondering, how does NITAP come in? How does MCEA come in? How does KIPPRA come in? Bona MC, I'm hoping that you'll provide guidance to our listeners, both here and virtually. With that, I hand over to you, Bona MC. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Musumba. A round of applause to her and the plenary session she's chaired ably and very well. Asanteni sana wapigeni makofi kukuja. It's been over an hour having this engagement virtually and physically. But as you've rightly put the questions of concern in regards to the engagement, how do we engage? If you have a question, how do you go about it? So if you're joining us virtually, actually initially the plan was after a plenary session, we are able to get time and respond to your specific questions with all the plenary members or the people who are presenting still on board. Due to time interest, it was a little bit difficult, but I've seen quite a number of questions online. So what we're going to do is we have an option of responding to you specifically, especially the people that you're targeting the question to. So you type a question there, somebody can respond to you directly. All right, that is one of the options. But in the future sessions, we'll be able, after a whole session, we collect your questions in that session and have the people who are participating in that session actually respond to your concerns. But right now, I understand that we are a little bit hungry. It's been hours since we had our tea break. We want to take a lunch break. But before we do that, I'd like to remind you that we have stands around here. Different organizations are partnering with us in this particular conference. So take time, walk to the stand, ask somebody, what are you guys offering? How can I take advantage of these opportunities here physically? And also, virtually, you have that particular option where you can go to one of the tabs right there, where you can engage different people exhibiting. It is the exhibition tab on the Flow platform. So make sure you engage on that particular session. Then in the afternoon, when we come back, actually, we'll be having bag session. This is breakaway groups. So they will be addressing different topics, and you'll be able to be in small and intimate settings. I think this is very important. So virtually, we'll have our bags group as we continue with our plenary session 2.1 actually ongoing in the afternoon. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your patience. At this particular moment, I'd like us to break for lunch if it is in order. I don't know, because I've just seen people during eating, you just go, you're given your card, you wash your hands, there's no prayer. I don't know whether people still do pray for food here. Do we pray for food? Or it's personal, it's a personal affair. I shouldn't, put you all in one basket. So at this particular moment, with your permission, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to break for lunch. We'll return after 24 minutes, okay? Remember, 24 minutes we'll be here. Let's break for lunch, shall we? And as we do so, also I'd like to invite the choir. We're supposed to be giving us entertainment from this particular moment. I'm meant to understand that they are one of the most able choirs in the country, the KIPPRA choir. So if they can get me, if they're within the vicinity, we'll appreciate if you approach the dais and give your performance as we break out for lunch. But now, let's head for lunch. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. May I take this opportunity to welcome you to Bomas of Kenya. Actually, it is a dance from Bomas of Kenya, not KIPPRA choir. Thank you. Briefly, Bomas of Kenya is a cultural entertainment institution where we scale the heights of our cultural diversities. We perform different traditional dances from different communities. And the Harambee dance troupe will give you a presentation from the coastal part of Kenya. They will present you a traditional dance locally known as Gonda, a dance that's performed by both men and women during special occasions such as weddings, birthdays, and many other important occasions among the particular ethnic community. Bomas of Kenya dance troupe, welcome on stage.
for me. To the mighty God we serve, incredible God, greater is your love for me. God will always do what He said He will do. And if He had made a promise for you, He will surely do it. Say, to the mighty God, to the mighty God, incredible God, greater is your love for me. To the mighty God, we serve, incredible God, greater is your love for me. Whenever I call you, answer, and I know you open wide. And a faithful, never failing God. You are bigger and stronger. You are mighty and awesome. You are. You never fail. You are.